This is our opportunity for the first public forum for public comment and approach council. Does anyone have anything they want to approach council about? Come up and identify yourself. And your address. Hearing none. We'll move on to, we're going to have a public hearing regarding the zoning ordinance amendment, Fair Housing Act. Is there any input, questions, comments from the public regarding the zoning ordinance amendment for the Fair Housing Act of 1968?
Andrew Revolt from South 8th Street, Perkasie. I don't understand why it's coming up for discussion again. I mean, this was already discussed on, voted on. It seems to me that if there's one person on council that doesn't agree with the decision, that do they have the right to just keep bringing it up until it passes? I mean, I would hope that our council is using critical thinking to decide this stuff, not just somebody from a bureaucratic layer of the government saying we need to do this. Because quite honestly, I didn't get any answers when I called the planning commission about how this was, how it denied anybody the right to free housing. There was no, it was a lot of hemming and hawing, and a lot of, oh, well, in a general sense, there's case law, but nothing, so I don't know if there's any new bombshells that are going to come to light tonight, but I mean, otherwise, I don't see the point in discussing this again, and, but I'll look forward to hearing, and I just hope that you guys use critical thinking and don't just act on some bureaucrat, telling you what to do. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Could you please explain what that means? What the Fair Housing Act means?
And you want to live up and identify yourself.
Perkasie, I'd like to know.
Just take the top out, please.
I'm Sandra Delaney, and I live in Perkasie. I'd like to know exactly what the Fair Housing Act means to the borough of Perkasie.
Nate, would you like to address that?
Sure. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 was part of a series of laws that were passed in Congress related to civil rights. The Fair Housing Act has several provisions that make it illegal to discriminate or prevent free and fair access to housing. There is numerous case law. By way of example, a recent matter in Buckingham Township. Buckingham Township was sued by a housing advocacy organization, which are nonprofit fair housing advocacy agencies that do nothing but look for potential or actual violations of the Fair Housing Act. Buckingham Township was sued for a zoning variance that was granted to a single apartment dwelling unit that prevented children from living in the apartment dwellings. So that's one of many different ways that the Fair Housing Act can affect a municipality. The litigations are expensive. Even whether you prevail or lose, you still have to pay attorney's fees. In this particular instance, the Bucks County Planning Commission perhaps gave a verbal statement that wasn't correct as to the application of the Fair Housing Act. Since doing that, they asked their solicitor to issue a written opinion, and the Bucks County Planning Commission issued an opinion saying that the changes proposed here tonight are both advisable and would bring Perkasie Borough into compliance with the Fair Housing Act, and also would not jeopardize the entire county's community development block grant money.
Could you tell me exactly what that change would be?
The change would be removing the minimum square footage for garden apartments, and also revising the definition of family slightly to include living under the same roof, cooking, and living together under the same roof. I'm paraphrasing. I can read through you exactly the definition.
So in essence, what you're saying is you want to be able to subdivide more property in order to do this? Add more properties to the borough that's already taxed highly? where this would be affected?
So
I'm sorry, I evidently don't know what's going on, so I would,
this would be any garden department.
and where are they now? Garden departments. And where do they plan on putting them?
Actually, there are no, as part of this, there are no garden departments proposed. There's no development proposed. This is,
So then why are you voting on this? Why is this an issue then now if there isn't anything in existence or not been planned for anything to be put into existence?
this is a part of a regular review by Bucks County, which is delegated the authority to review Perkasie Borough zoning ordinance for compliance and potential violations with the Fair Housing Act. They
Have
pointed
we
out
violated anything in the borough?
that's an open question. A violation can exist without
Does that?
litigation. Very likely. These have been deemed potential violations. At first, the Bucks County Planning Commission said these are violations. We're required to do this. They're now being couched.
So we actually have violations within the borough. Are there physical places of this violation? Am I not understanding this?
With all due respect, I don't think so, because these are provisions within the zoning ordinance that have been identified and recommended for revision and for change to fully come into compliance with the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Doing so, in both my view and the Bucks County Planning Commission's view, will eliminate liabilities and actual and potential violations of the Fair Housing Act, and it will reduce potential litigation costs for the borough. And it should be noted that part of, I guess, what was included in everyone's packet this evening, the borough is now on the mailing address of the recipient of one of these fair housing advocacy organizations, meaning they are looking to see whether or not we comply or not. And that's something that doing so reduces, as I said, reduces the borough's liability from these groups and from potential
But have they been
violations.
made public? These things that you've gotten saying that we're potentially not,
Yes,
they are public.
yes.
In the letter from Lynn Bush, who's the executive director of the Bucks County Planning Commission, she says, and this might help, the intent of our initial review of zoning ordinances was to identify municipal ordinance provisions that, based on criteria established by experts in fair housing, would be considered impediments to fair housing. In doing so, we used a checklist of potential impediments that was developed using two sources. One was the Fair Housing Council of Suburban Philadelphia, which had identified 5 zoning ordinance sections that could potentially interfere with the fair housing environment, the definition of family, regulation of group homes, age-restricted housing requirements, whether the ordinance provides for a reasonable range of multifamily housing types and mobile homes as required by the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, and requirements that set minimum size of housing units. The second source was a draft of the analysis of impediments in fair housing prepared by a consulting parties in the county. So it was put against the list.
My concern is, I don't know, but moving more into the borough, that's already.
The only thing that this does on the zoning ordinance is change the minimum size of garden apartments and commercial units. And change the definition.
The borough's applying for $100,000 grant. Well, it's more than that, because we're up possibly to get $100,000 to do work in the borough. If we don't comply with these federal regulations, we'll lose the grant.
Depends on whether that's going to be a detriment to the borough. $100,000 is not much to lose if there's a detriment to the borough. That's what we need to consider.
Sure. Andrew, did you have some input?
No, I guess, Jim, that's where I would start, since I guess you didn't know where this started, no, but the borough has in the past applied for these grants, they're called community development block grants, and they are federally funded, and because of that, there's certain regulations that seem to change every funding apply for 200,000, and we have received preliminary notification that we've received 100,000. Now, it's not final yet, the county can still cut us off that list, but the federal regulations have said that we need to change our zoning ordinance to come into compliance in order to be eligible, in order to still stay on that list where we can potentially fund it for this cycle and future cycles as well.
Just a quick question. There was a property up on the Ridge Road that was in question for buildings. There was a property on the ridge that's bright pink, probably don't know what it is, that was zoned, I guess, for something, and now, would it affect properties like that? I know that the residents didn't want multiple apartments being put in there. What I'm asking you is, if you do this, would that enable for properties like that now to bloom and blossom into larger things than they need to be?
We still have, that parcel, I think has already been approved for 3 apartments, from what I remember. Now, Dan is our zoning officer, so he's definitely the best person to talk about that place, concerning it.
I'm not just talking about that.
We still have, you know, the minimum room requirements, room size requirements and stuff on the books.
Well, just out of curiosity, if this should go through a property like that, what would that then enable that to be?
Dan is definitely the best person to, as a zoning officer, to answer those questions. Unless you know further. You don't know very much about that property though.
I can't speak specific to that property, but
In general.
I'm just saying in general, would it affect?
in order to obtain a building permit, you have to meet the minimum room size requirements, which are set forth in the open code, which is part of the borough's building code, and the property maintenance code. It would also have to meet density requirements, parking requirements, height restrictions, everything else that's already within the zoning ordinance that is okay under the Fair Housing Act. It's these 2 specific items that are targeted and are recommended to be addressed, and that's all that's being addressed.
I did want to switch gears for a minute. I was really coming here because I was very concerned about the drug problems that we're having with the
This is a public
So I
hearing
cannot
for
bring that
the
up.
zoning ordinance.
Bring it up,
Under public.
under public forum, number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand. Okay, I've never been to one of these.
It's okay. That's
You
why we
did a
have
great
hearings,
job.
so you can ask questions and then we try to answer.
I mean, I just wanted an explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to approach council regarding this zoning ordinance amendment and the Fair Housing Act of 1968?
Hi. Susan Green, 623 East Walnut Street. So, actually, if I understand correctly, it'll be just the garden apartments that are affected by this? And what constitutes a garden apartment?
It's garden apartments, the garden apartment table dimensional requirements, and average apartment size. I don't have the zoning ordinance in front of me, but a garden apartment is a specific apartment use which is specifically defined within the zoning ordinance. And all it does is eliminate the minimum square footage per unit.
Okay. So, if we have a garden apartment now and it allows 2 people, that will not change? Like you can't have 3 or 4 in a small space?
I would think if you have something now, it's a grandfather in, and anything new that would come down the road, you would have to go by the ordinance and size. Are you getting close on that?
Well, and I understand about they're changing the size, but is there anything in there about the quantity of people?
We make those number of people. Now, we can put in 2 persons per bedroom restriction, which is listed in the Fair Housing Act as acceptable, and that's something we might want to address a little bit down the road here, because it gives us a little bit of protection against these minimum size requirements. We can't have 1 person, 2 people per bedroom or something.
Don't want to people, like, in a one-bedroom apartment. I mean,
It
doesn't matter.
That will not happen.
Don't we
It's
have,
not a density thing, it's a minimum square footage.
we have an ordinance against that now.
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, we don't really have to add something else, but because there's ordinance protecting us.
I think too that we're more concerned about people moving out of the town than we are with people moving into town. I don't know why they would move in to town because there's really no opportunities that, would bring them into town. So I would be more concerned, I would be more concerned about them moving out and having hordes of people moving in.
Well, I mean, having hordes of people move in is, but having a horde move into one small garden apartment concerns me because of the element that really brings. I mean, I have concerns about that. We've got a few, like, issues in this town, and I just didn't want it to be enhanced any further, that's all.
First of all, technically, do we have any garden apartments?
There's a few.
A rough idea?
I have no idea.
Where the Walnut?
10, 5?
Walnut Constitution, I think it qualifies as a garden apartment right there.
I just wanted to make sure that if we rethink this, that it's going to be best for the town and not just, benefiting so that we can get the money and we're being dictated by somebody else. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else coming before council? Hearing none, the hearing will be closed now for discussion and comment on the amendment to the Fair Housing Act. And I will open it up to council and entertain a motion at this time if you choose to do so.
Jim, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 958, an ordinance to amend chapter 186 of the Code of Ordinances, revising certain provisions of the zoning chapter for compliance with the Fair Housing Act of 1968.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions regarding the motion?
First again, and as Susan just said, getting the message from up above, on how to direct and how we should, align our zoning regulations to Perkasie as a whole officer. There is nothing in the Fair Housing Act that talks about the office house, absolutely nothing. Our zoning policies is less restrictive than what they allow because we can go ahead and add a 2-person per bedroom maximum. That's what they don't like it, but it's legal. I talked to Dan next week and asked him to ask Lynn a few questions. And one of the questions I had was, if you read their review of their gray area review of the gray area and their interpretation of the gray area, it says here that additional zoning ordinance places minimum unit size on specific residential uses, garden apartment conversions or apartments, and not on all other types. They consider that to be fairly discriminatory because we only put that limit on garden apartments, conversion apartments. I proposed, and I asked this, Dan asked this to Lynn, why don't we put that restriction on all units? I mean, it's irrelevant. Who's going to build a house that's 450 square feet or below? It's irrelevant, but so the rule we it's also irrelevant. And we didn't get an answer yet. She said she's going to go back and check. But that's the main problem. And I understand the regional family thing, and we're going to lose it. And that's a battle that's realized that's changing everywhere. And we can't hold that on. But as far as them telling us how our dwellings need to be designed, I don't think that's their business. And I think we have every right to protect the people who live in apartments to have a decent sized place. We're not discriminating against anybody. And every question we ask is who is this discriminating against, we get, well, not really anybody, except you're discriminating against, I guess, the builders of apartments versus the builders of houses, because we put a size requirement on the apartments but not the houses. So let's put that requirement on everything. And maybe that makes it happen, because now we're not discriminating.
Thanks, Jim, for your input. There's a motion and a second. Are there any other questions regarding the motion? We'll take a roll call vote, starting with Jim.
No.
All those in favor? No? Yes? So there's 2 noes and 7 yeses. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Okay, the next order of business is the report of the Perkasie Planning Commission. Is there one? And we'll move on to the police report. Joe, you have a police report for us?
It's usually not prepared until the second council meeting.
Public Works Committee, Superintendent's report. That's before you. Any questions regarding that? Any questions? All right, request for fire police assistant in Houston Township. We'll entertain a motion for that tonight so we can get it off the table. If the council would wish to do so.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Request for fire police assistance for Ridgeton Township for their annual carnival, August 29th through September 6th.
May I have a second? All those in favor, signify so by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Disposal of bicycles. Joe, do you have some input on that?
Yes, sir. Over the year, the borough has accumulated 45 bicycles, some in good condition, some in poor condition. What the plan is, we've made arrangements with a school in Philadelphia, Mead School in Philadelphia. They come up, pick up the bikes, they have them refurbished, and then they're given out to the students at the school. I guess the students have to earn it. They have to come in and refurbish it. And then the bikes that are of no use, we then salvage. And then we return to the borough.
Very good, thanks. Any questions for the chief? Any questions? So is everyone in favor of
I have a
that
question.
process?
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
Did you check around locally anywhere in this area?
Yes, we put feelers out and asked, and
Nobody
the
was
problem, everybody wants them, but they have to be in pristine condition. So this group will take them, they have somebody that makes sure they're good for the kids, puts new bar plates and stuff on, and then they give it to the students.
Thank you.
Chief, how many bicycles are there?
Right now, I think there's 42 that have accumulated over the year. Probably about 15 may go to the school, the rest will probably wind up on the scratch.
Thank you.
Okay, council, is everyone in favor of letting the chief do that with the bikes? Okay. Thank you. All right, the next order of business is council.
You can read the resolution. You want to read it? I can read the resolution. Resolution 2012-7, whereas the Borough of Perkasie has accumulated a number of abandoned bicycles that have subsequently created a storage problem, and whereas Act 241/1988 provides that bicycles unclaimed by the owner for more than 90 days may be disposed of as a donation to a charitable organization, and whereas the Mead School of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania has indicated a willingness to receive those bicycles, be it resolved that the Borough of Perkasie donates all bicycles retained by the municipality for more than 90 days to the Mead School of Philadelphia.
I'd like to make a motion that council approves resolution 2012-7 for the disposal of unclaimed bicycles by providing them to the Mead School of Philadelphia.
I make a motion that we approve resolution
There's a motion on the floor, and a second.
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor, signify so by saying aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. Next order of business is contract with ADRPC, contract with the Perkasie Planning Commission for planning services. We'll start with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. Andrew, can you explain that?
two contracts to consider, and we ask that council vote on tonight. One is between the Borough and Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and the other one is the Bucks County Planning Commission for Planning Services. The one with the DVRPC is for the grant award. The borough is receiving $40,000 towards the project with a match of $10,000. Although from what I understand, the borough did budget more for the match. And then the Bucks County Planning Commission was one of the bidders on the planning portion of that project. And they actually did come in as a little bidder, I believe. Actually, yes. This is just signing the contracts, that's right. So we're asking for a vote tonight. The votes, we needed all documents in place by the end of the month. And so Dan is asking for council vote on that.
I entertain a motion at this time. If there's no-
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2012-8, a resolution to approve the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission agreement for grant funding, and further to approve an agreement with the Bucks County Planning Commission for planning services to prepare a new comprehensive development plan.
I'll second. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions regarding the motion? All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Okay. Is there any other business coming before Public Works at this time? Hearing none, we will move to public utility. Superintendent's report is before us. Is there any questions regarding that? Hearing none. Planning Commission. Steve? Planning and Zoning Committee.
Thank you. We all have a copy of the code enforcement officer's report. Are there any questions about that? Is there any other business in the planning? There is none, Chair.
Thanks, Steve. Park and Rec Committee. Hello.
Yes, we have a request from West Walpole Township, and what they would like are some tickets, and I believe it's customary to provide them with, how many full tickets do you want to give them? Two? Four? For next year. Okay, so we can hold off on the,
Put it on the agenda.
put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Also, I have this here, pool improvements, was I up?
Yeah, I understand to put that on the agenda. Thanks for the time. There were a few things done. Most notably, we had 2 more chairs in the leisure pool area, specifically over the lazy river portion of it. So now